flooded with terms like financial crisis, economic downturn. Even the term global economic crisis 2008 to 2009 has become an official entry in Wikipedia. Some of you may be worried that we're heading towards a Great Depression. So what is the difference between a recession and a depression? Well, they say that a depression is simply a recession that lasts longer and has a more serious impact on business activity. But they say that these days, the recession is only going to impact the GDP by a few percent versus the 27% drop that happened in the Great Depression. So they expect things to stabilize by 2010. Meanwhile, a lot of people are losing jobs and feeling disheartened. So how has all this bad news affected you guys or your friends?
I think that there's a huge element of fear. As soon as people started talking about this and media said the word recession, a year ago we heard that scary R word talked about so much, and I think a lot of people were like, oh, it's not going to really hit. And then it did, but I think the reason why it hit a bit harder is because as soon as people are fearful, they're not going to buy anything, they're going to take their money out of stocks, everyone panics.
Yeah, you hear
and as soon as there is a panic, it's a disaster.
Yeah, it's a spiral effect.
You hear how everyone's losing consumer confidence, and I don't know about you, but I'm definitely a little nervous with my savings. I really don't want to spend too much because we don't know how long it's going to last.
Economists say that there's no way, given the nature of things today, that we'll go back to the depression of the 30s. That being said, there are some scary things. One of them is how we measure unemployment. So then if you didn't have a job, regardless of the reasons, you were considered unemployed. And at its peak, let's say 25% of US people were out of jobs. Now, supposedly, we're hanging out around 7, 8, but if you're unemployed, you are only considered to be someone who has a job lined up, is in between jobs. They're not counting people who are considered to be discouraged because they've given up.
It's cyclical. Every 10 years, every decade, 15 years, 20 years, there needs to be an adjustment period. So let's look back to the 90s. You can't increase consistently forever. So I think everyone just needs to calm down and just know that between different periods, there's always going to be that era of decadence and there's going to be an era of withdrawal.
That's actually the difference between a recession and a depression. A recession means that it will pull itself out on its own, and a depression is when you just can't.
But they say that during the Great Depression, people thought this can't happen, it's not going to happen. It wasn't until the 4th year that people were thinking, oh,
this is a big
is
problem.
really serious.
And my biggest concern is look around at everyone who has massive debts on their credit card. That to me is living beyond your means. That's
major
something
problem
I think that's
for our generation.
Even a bigger problem than, okay, and I shouldn't say this, the recession is a big problem, but I think that it's a way of living, and I think maybe our generation lives beyond their means.
So it's a good time to get some counseling if you are in debt.
One of my friends recently just said, let's get together once a month, bring potluck, have a potluck dinner, and all swap clothes. And you bring some of the things that you just don't wear anymore and trade off instead of going out and buying more. Now, those are things, though you save money, that's not going to kickstart the economy.
I have a great tip for everyone, and that is Craigslist. I think that's one of the best inventions there is on the internet. I bought a used bike, I bought used furniture, I got cheap tickets to concerts. Craigslist is just like making the community on a global level, and you can access all these resources.
eBay, the same thing.
Yes.
I would like to draw attention to my diamante necklace. So they were everywhere in stores this year. Banana Republic, rhinestones were big, and it was just cheap, light-weighted stuff. I went on eBay, and this was $10.
Wow.
So you take your online risks, but if you're a good online shopper, or you go to a vintage store. Of course, we keep talking right now about spending. Let's talk about saving and paying yourself first. It's the first principle of starting a good financial...
The wealthy barber. Have you read that?
No, I haven't. But the idea of paying yourself first is before you go to spend on everything else, make sure your bills are paid. Can you set up any automatic payments? Do you use automatic online payments?
No, I don't.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
I do, because you know what? If I go out and have a few too many shots, I might buy everyone around when the next day I have to pay my cell phone bill.
Yeah.
And if you do have a job and they have some kind of pension plan of any kind, anything that your employer also contributes to, take advantage of that. That's free money.
Credit card interest rates usually 19, 20%. If you call your credit card company, you can ask to have that rate lowered to about prime plus 1.9%. So my rate right now is about, I think it's 8 or 9% that it's at, instead of 20.
But if you do get laid off, make sure that you collect your unemployment. And a good tip is to get a reference letter from your employer, because most likely you're not getting laid off because of bad performance, but because of, finances.
Right now, I think that people, just from talking to people who are applying, when you do these online applications and you're competing against 300 people, that's a little difficult. So you want to make your resume stand out. There are a lot of job searching sites that help you with that. If you can make a phone call, reach a contact that you already know, that helps with job hunting.
And another thing I think is to take care of your emotional health, because a lot of people can fall into psychological depression during this time. So it's important, I think, to have, a realistic expectation. It may not be that you find a job in 1 day or 1 week or 1 month or even in half a year. So it's really important to have a daily schedule, to exercise, to keep connected to your friends, to not hide from people.
Take this wake-up call, listen to the murmurs around you, and start saving, cut your spending. Keep that nest egg. No matter what age you are, think about having a worst case scenario nest egg. I write a blog for the Stephen and Chris show, which if you don't know it, it's like Martha Stewart and Oprah Winfrey show had a baby and it's being raised by like 2 fabulous gay men. So on their website, it's called The Power of Your Purse. It's targeted towards women of our age. And yeah, you can ask questions or come on this site, ask us questions and we'll answer them if you're confused about finances, right?
Yes, and I actually have another website tip. It's called pinkofperfection.com, and it's for thrifty gals who want to know about lifestyle things that they can do, including how to make your own dinette chair and how to roast
Very
a
cool.
chicken, how to build your own yoga mat.
So maybe use this
How
time to
to
get in
build
touch
yoga.
with yourself and be crafty again.
Yep.
So if you have any ideas of how we can all weather this storm, please leave it in our forum and we'd love to get in a discussion with you. If you need some encouragement, you're looking for a job, you need some tips, we'd love to hear from you as well. Thanks for checking out Table Topics and hope you tune in next time.